No one despised her more than Cloris Leachman. On April 30th, 1926, Cloris Leachman was born in Des Moines, Iowa. She was raised in a modest working-class family during the Great Depression. She participated in neighborhood plays and school theater performances because of her brilliant personality and natural skill for performing, which were evident from a young age. She became one of the most enduring and adored personalities in American show business as a result of her early love of acting, which eventually developed into a lifelong passion that would last for more than 70 years. She studied drama at Northwestern University with future celebrities Paul Lynde and Charlton Heston, marking the beginning of her serious ascent to fame. After that, Cloris entered the Miss America contest as Miss Chicago, which helped her get a job in entertainment even though she didn't win. With an innate talent for the stage and cinema, she relocated to New York City and started developing her skills at the Actors Studio under the renowned acting instructor Elia Kazan. When Leachman started getting parts in stage plays and television dramas in the 1950s, her career in films and television really took off. Her big break, meanwhile, came in the 1971 movie The Last Picture Show, where she won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her compelling portrayal of Ruth Popper, a lonely housewife caught in an affair. In addition to demonstrating her dramatic depth, this performance expanded the range of her career by demonstrating her ability to switch between humor and drama with equal ease and skill. But in the public's mind, comedy was maybe what most characterized her, even though she had won an Oscar for her tragic performance. Leachman worked frequently with Mel Brooks and made memorable appearances in films such as High Anxiety, 1977, where she portrayed the twisted Nurse Diesel, and Young Frankenstein, 1974, when she played the deliciously frightening housekeeper Frau Blucher. She was a natural in Brooks's comedy universe and won over audiences all over the world with her flawless timing, unafraid physical humor, and willingness to play bizarre characters. She rose to fame on television as Mary Richards's conceited and eccentric friend Phyllis Lindstrom on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Because of how well she was portrayed, Phyllis, a spin-off series, was created and ran from 1975 to 1977. That brought her more praise. Cloris Leachman tied the record for the most Emmys ever won by a performer at the time, with 8 primetime Emmys over her career. Her remarkable range is demonstrated by the variety of comic and tragic performances that won her accolades. Leachman continued to be active and well-liked far into her 80s and 90s. At the age of 82, she made an appearance on Dancing with the Stars. Her warmth and wit won over a new generation of admirers, making her the oldest contestant in the show's history. In addition, she continued to perform in television series like Malcolm in the Middle, where she won another Emmy for her absurd and funny portrayal of Grandma Ida, and voiced characters in animated films like The Croods. George England was the spouse of Cloris Leachman from 1953 till 1978. Well-known Hollywood writer, producer, and director who gained reputation in the entertainment world for his work in television and movies. They created one of the more interesting and dynamic partnerships among show business couples over their 25-year union, which is a considerable amount of time in the high-pressure world of Hollywood. Leachman's fiercely independent and creatively vibrant attitude was complemented by England, who is well known for his work on films like The Ugly American and his close association with actor Marlon Brando. They had a strong, if occasionally turbulent, bond and similar artistic aspirations, which made their marriage both complex and passionate. Mabel Albertson, a seasoned character actress who is well known for her work in a number of films and television shows, was Cloris' former mother-in-law from this marriage. Albertson, who is arguably most known for portraying controlling mothers and aunts, such as Darren Stevens' mother on Bewitched, came from a long line of show business veterans, which further connected Cloris to the heyday of Hollywood. Given that Leachman's own career spanned both the classic and contemporary eras of television and cinema, this familial connection to an older generation of screen actors seemed appropriate. The 5 children of Cloris and George's marriage, 4 sons and 1 daughter, all had distinct personalities and life trajectories. Brian, Morgan, Adam, Dinah, and George Jr. were their names. The family was devastated by the tragic death of their eldest son, Brian, who died in 1986 at the early age of 30. Many of the England children found their own place in the world, with some opting to pursue their mother's artistic career despite the inherent difficulties of growing up in the shadow of 2 successful parents. Notably, their son Morgan England went on to pursue a career in music and acting. He became well known for playing Dylan Lewis on the popular daytime serial Opera Guiding Light. in which he frequently starred in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Morgan's dedication to the arts was a reflection of the strong creative heritage his mother, a talented actress who also provided her children with caring and support, had ingrained in him. The England family lived in the posh Bel Air neighborhood of Los Angeles in the early 1960s, which was a sanctuary for the elite of Hollywood. Judy Garland, the famous singer and actress, was one of their neighbors. Sidney Luft, Garland's former spouse and producer, and their kids, Lorna and Joey Luft. The Garland-Luft children and Leachman shared a close-knit community, and it was at this time that Leachman cultivated a modest yet deeply caring bond with them. Lorna Luft presents a moving and realistic picture of Cloris Leachman as a ray of sunshine in her family memoir, Me and My Shadows. While she was going through a difficult period, because of her mother's battles with addiction and her parents' erratic relationship, Lorna openly talks about the turmoil and emotional upheaval that frequently characterized her home. Leachman stood out as a source of warmth, stability, and mother care amidst that unpredictability. According to Lorna, Leachman was the type of mother I had only ever seen on television, highlighting the stark contrast between Cloris' affectionate manner and the emotional upheaval she was used to. Even though Cloris never publicly spoke or pried into the private problems of the Luft family, her empathy was demonstrated by her actions. For Lorna and Joey, she would discreetly make home-cooked meals, provide a secure and friendly environment, and show them the kind of tender care and hospitality that turned her house into a haven. She did this just out of empathy and a desire to help children in need, not for attention or accolades. Her ability to soothe and care for others, both on and off screen, was a monument to her character and reflected the qualities that would eventually characterize many of her most cherished television performances. Cloris Leachman never shied away from controversy, and beneath her glittering Emmys and quirky public demeanor was a complex web of personal grudges and professional rivalry. Perhaps no one ever got under her skin as much as Betty White out of all the individuals she met during her lengthy and illustrious career in Hollywood. Despite being television pioneers and comic icons, the two women's relationship was tainted by a long-simmering animosity that persisted for decades, occasionally concealed behind flimsy grins on screen, but in private, never far from the surface. Beyond their shared accomplishment, one needs examine the underlying layers of professional rivalry, divergent personalities, and conflicting ideals in order to comprehend Cloris' animosity towards Betty White. Cloris, a comedy dynamo who loved to push boundaries and defy expectations, was known for being wild, unconventional, and unpredictable. She was also known for her sharp tongue and piercing wit. On the other hand, Betty had meticulously maintained a facade of timeless charm and kindness, which Cloris allegedly found false and deceptive. "Don't be fooled," Leachman once remarked, "but she acts like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth." There was a deeper truth to the comment, even if it might have appeared to be just another jest. Cloris viewed Betty as a meticulously crafted brand that Hollywood loved, in addition to being a peer, frequently at the expense of Cloris. When both actresses were well known on television in the 1970s and 1980s, the competition reached a very high level. Cloris received praise and many Emmys for her portrayal of the nuanced and witty Phyllis Lindstrom on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. However, almost immediately after joining the same show as the cheesily ideal Sue and Nivens, Betty White started stealing scenes. White's witty, sardonic sweetness won over both critics and spectators, and many in the business started to speculate that Betty's performance had eclipsed Cloris. Leachman reportedly became enraged by that idea, believing she had established the show's humorous core only to have a latecomer overshadow her. Their relationship was tense behind the scenes. Despite their shared professional background, Cloris reportedly became more outspoken in her criticism of Betty's apparent manipulation of her public persona. Leachman, who was open about her imperfections, her hardships, and her free-spirited way of life, believed that White's unrelenting optimism was deceptive and politically motivated. Betty's popularity with producers and network executives, who saw her as dependable, marketable, and media-friendly, didn't help either. Contrarily, Cloris was sometimes challenging, loud, and eccentric, qualities that won her admirers but hurt her chances in a field that valued consistency. As time went on, they kept running into each other in mutual circles, award presentations, and interviews. Even though the two women would sometimes make subtle jokes about one another, Betty once remarked that Cloris always expresses her thoughts precisely as she feels, even when she shouldn't. Many of the insiders sensed an unmistakable tension, "You're America's sweetheart, and I'm the bitch who can't stand you," Cloris said, mockingly sweet, as she grabbed the microphone at one awards presentation. Although the audience chuckled, those who were aware of the true dynamics realized that the remarks were more realistic than amusing. The fact that Betty appeared to be untouchable may have contributed to Cloris' intense anger. Leachman remained a symbol of eccentric genius rather than widespread admiration, despite winning accolades and taking on daring parts well into her 80s and 90s. Meanwhile, Betty rode wave after wave of public adoration and became a pop cultural phenomenon. From her Golden Girls stardom to her late-life comeback as a beloved online personality, Cloris appeared to dig in Betty's heels more and more the more the world loved her. She was unwilling to forget or forgive what she perceived as years of being passed over for someone she valued more for their appearance than their character. Strangely enough, though, being in the same Hollywood circle kept both women sharp. Nothing inspired her more than the idea of Betty White winning another award, Clarice once said. She remarked, "I'd better be presenting it so I can glare at Betty the entire time if she's getting an award." However, beneath the humor lay an indisputable resentment, a rivalry that lasted a lifetime and that Cloris never lost. Ultimately, Cloris Leachman's animosity towards Betty White went beyond simple personal distaste. It was about two ladies who stood for very different perspectives on comedy, truth, and celebrity. It was the conflict between unpolished perfection and unadulterated genuineness. Betty grinned despite Cloris yelling of the uncomfortable facts. Cloris, who was rebellious, opinionated, and unrepentant, remained openly skeptical of Betty's legacy, even if the world may remember her as the universally adored grandmother of American television. Maybe because she was aware that every Golden Girl has a shadowy person waiting for her moment in the spotlight. One of the most adored and adaptable actresses in American entertainment history is Cloris Leachman. At the astounding age of 94, she died quietly at her home in Encinitas, California. Her passing signaled the end of an illustrious career that had lasted more than 70 years and had made a lasting impression on theater, cinema, and television. A stroke was listed as the official cause of death, while COVID-19 was identified as a contributing factor. A very heartbreaking and depressing reminder of the virus's widespread effects, even on the most colorful and famous lives. In a heartbreaking statement to People magazine, Juliette Green, Leachman's longtime manager and confidant, formally confirmed the news of Cloris' passing, saying that she passed away on January 27, 2021. She was a bold actor and a singular force of nature, according to Green, lauding her unquenchable wit, her limitless enthusiasm, and her deep love for what she does. She noted how Leachman remained witty, energetic, and bright until the very end, and praised the actress's amazing ability to transition between humorous and dramatic parts with ease. The announcement sparked a flood of tributes from friends, co-workers, and admirers of her remarkable collection of work from across generations. And contagious disposition. Leachman's son confirmed her death in an interview with the New York Times, confirming the date of January 27th. In his succinct but moving message, he said that although the family was devastated, they were also incredibly appreciative of their mother's long and full life. In addition to her immense talent as a performer, he recalled her as a fiercely affectionate and incredibly funny lady whose presence brightened every space she walked into. However, there was significant uncertainty in the early aftermath of her death because her date of death was initially listed as January 26, 2021, by a number of media outlets, including obituary sources and entertainment news portals. Due to this little disparity, early coverage had some contradictory reports, which were subsequently made clear by official declarations and records. Although the uncertainty was probably caused by time zone differences or the date of death certificate filings, it demonstrated how quickly word of her passing traveled among mourning fans and reporters who wanted to pay tribute to her. In a private ceremony on February 7, 2021, Cloris Leachman's remains were cremated after her passing. Her requests for a straightforward yet heartfelt farewell were fulfilled by the private event, which was attended by close family and a few chosen friends. Her ashes, which represented a peaceful conclusion to a life that had been so well praised and joyfully effervescent, were maintained in accordance with her wishes and those of her family. Her spirit endured vividly through her innumerable performances, even though her bodily presence was no longer with us. She broke barriers as an artist and a woman in the entertainment industry, and she made people laugh. Her memory was made even more poignant by her demise during the COVID-19 pandemic. Through virtual tributes, marathon screenings of her most well-known work, and social media campaigns that celebrated her groundbreaking roles in television and film, her followers continued to celebrate her life despite the difficulties of the time. Major networks and award shows honored her extraordinary accomplishments in the weeks after her passing, guaranteeing that Cloris Leachman's legacy would live on not only in Hollywood history books, but also in the hearts of everyone who had been touched, amused, and inspired by her brilliance.